Almost every country in the world has been a victim of colonialism. However, some are giving more attention than others. Did you know Indonesia was colonized by the Dutch, and it's just been 7 decades since the country received its freedom? But the lasting effects of colonialism are far from over. Indonesia's biggest city and current capital is sinking faster than any other city, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. But how did this happen? Cities aren't just supposed to sink. Well, Indonesia's changing geography is unlike any other country in the world, and it's struggling to save the living and the dead. Stick around to know more about it. Jakarta, Indonesia's capital and also the country's biggest city, is congested, polluted, and prone to earthquakes. But you can find other cities with the same problems, so why is Jakarta different? To answer that question, we have to look at the history and geography of the capital city. Indonesia is an archipelago nation of more than 17,000 islands, but currently 54% of the country's more than 270 million people live on Java, the country's most densely populated island, and where Jakarta is located. Jakarta itself is home to about 10 million people and 3 times that number in the greater metropolitan area. Jakarta is one of the biggest coastal cities in the world. Coastal cities in different countries are affected because of rising sea levels caused by climate change. Increased sea levels occur because of thermal expansion, the water expanding because of extra heat, and the melting of polar ice. The speed at which Jakarta is sinking is alarming, say experts. It has been described as the world's most rapidly sinking city, and at the current rate, it is estimated that 1/3 of the city could be submerged by 2050. The main cause is uncontrolled groundwater extraction, but it has been exacerbated by the rising Java Sea due to climate change. The city sits on swampy land, the Java Sea lapping against it, and with 13 rivers running through it. So it shouldn't be a surprise that flooding is frequent in Jakarta, and according to experts, it is getting worse. But it's not just about freak floods. This massive city is literally disappearing into the ground. In 2018, the Jakarta City Authority inspected 80 buildings in central Jakarta's Jalan Tamarin, a road lined with skyscrapers, shopping malls, and hotels. It found that 56 buildings had their own groundwater pump and 33 were extracting water illegally. Pumping out the groundwater has quite literally lowered the city's foundations, causing widespread subsidence. Areas in northern Jakarta have sunk by up to 4 meters, dropping them well below sea level and making it physically impossible for rain and river water to drown out into the bay. That creates an immense problem, according to climate expert Dickie Edwin Hindarto. In the district of Muara Baru, an entire office building lies abandoned. It once housed a fishing company, but the first floor veranda is the only functional part left. The submerged ground floor is full of stagnant floodwater. The land around it is higher, so the water has nowhere to go. Buildings that are so deeply sunk are rarely abandoned like this because most of the time the owners will try to fix, rebuild, and find short-term remedies for the issue. But what they can't do is stop the soil sucking this part of the city down. The state of the north is so bad that even the dead in the city's biggest cemetery are underwater. On maps, the village looks like it's still on the north coast of central Java, but the land around it has long since been taken by the Java Sea. The rest of Jakarta is also sinking, albeit at a slower rate. In West Jakarta, the ground is sinking by as much as 15 centimeters annually, by 10 centimeters annually in the east, 2 centimeters in central Jakarta, and just 1 centimeter in south Jakarta. According to experts, there is only one solution. That would be to halt all groundwater extraction and solely rely on other sources of water such as rain or river water or piped water from man-made reserves, or piped water from man-made reservoirs. He says Jakarta must do this by 2050 to avoid major subsidence. The city doesn't actually lack fresh water. It has 300 days of rain annually, and 313 rivers flow through it. The problem is that this water isn't retained, since areas that used to be marshlands with mangroves have over the years been filled in and paved over to make room for shopping malls and high-rise office and apartment buildings. An estimated 97% of Jakarta's wetlands have been transformed into concrete jungle, and this has had a terrific effect on the geography of the city and areas around it. The government also hopes that the Great Garuda, a 32-kilometer outer sea wall built across Jakarta Bay along with 17 artificial islands, will help rescue the sinking city. At the cost of about $40 billion. It's being supported by the Dutch and South Korean governments and creates an artificial lagoon in which water levels can be lowered to allow the city's rivers to drain. It's being supported by the Dutch and South Korean governments and creates an artificial lagoon in which water levels can be lowered to allow the city's rivers to drain. It will help with the flooding, which is an issue when the rains come. The flooding, pollution, sinking earth, and congestion have gotten so catastrophic, in fact, that the country is switching capital cities altogether. Yes, seriously. The government is packing up and moving the country's capital to the island of Borneo, according to the Associated Press. According to President Joko Widodo, the construction of the new capital city is not merely a physical move of government offices. The main goal is to build a smart new city, a new city that is competitive at the global level, to build a new locomotive for the transformation toward an Indonesia based on innovation and technology, based on a green economy. It sounds great in theory, but according to the AP, current plans are for about 8,000 civil servants to have moved to the new capital by 2024. The whole relocation process is scheduled to be completed by 2045, but that's only 5 years ahead of 2050, when an entire third of Jakarta could be submerged. The move is also unlikely to help poor residents who are still suffering from the chaos of an environmental disaster, financial ruin, and the side effects of colonization ever since the Dutch built a purposefully segregated city in the 1600s. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, aka staying in a doomed city or moving to an imperfect new one, Indonesia once again reminds us that just because a country has independence doesn't mean it's free of a grim history. That's all for today, folks. Do you think Jakarta and Indonesia stand a chance, or should everyone just move to a new city, including the government? Leave your answers in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it and also share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for more informative news around the world regularly. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.